Welcome to the next part of your Designing Your First Pitch Deck course. I'm Jenna, and I've been on this journey with you right from the very beginning, and we're coming towards the final couple of sections to really wrap up your first pitch deck and make it as impactful as possible. Now, the last few sections was focused on the content of your pitch, and hopefully you've got a really good idea of the content that's going to go into those key building blocks that we've gone through. But it's one thing to have some brilliant content to share. It's another thing to make sure that actually what you're delivering looks great as well. And we want to really listen and follow along your journey for your pitch. And that's where this section comes in. It's all about capturing attention. And to start with, I've got some really key rules, for want of a better word, to think about as you're starting to think about the design of your pitch. One thing to really bear in mind as we venture into this section is that you don't need to be an amazing graphic designer or the most creative person in the world to really deliver a eye-capturing and attention-grabbing pitch deck. There are lots of tools and templates to help you, and we're going to go through some of those in this section as well. But let's look at those first 5 things to consider as you're building out the look of your pitch. The first thing you want to look at is making sure it's a professional looking document. And by that, I don't mean it needs to be boring. And not that professional means boring, but it can be a real good reflection of you and your business. And professional might mean using a certain template or a certain tool online to help you get this professional looking document so that it builds your credibility when someone opens that slide deck, or if they see you present it, it looks professional, it looks slick, and it looks like we want to find out more about it. So really thinking about that professional approach. And I'll give you, as I said, some insights and examples of tools that can help you to create that. Linked to that part is having a consistent brand on your pitch deck as well. You might already have a color scheme, a logo, a really nice vibe for your business. It might be that you're in the really early stages and you're still thinking this through. In which case, it's a great point to really consider, what does the brand behind your business look like? What are the values and what's important for you and your business? If you're creating a venture that's fun, that's exciting, that's motivating, depending on what it is that you're doing, you might want to reflect that in your brand. So what colors are going to bring that to life? What language might help bring that to life as well? And what could that consistent brand look like? That consistency is really key. So it doesn't look like you've got really sporadic slides on your pitch. It looks like it's this journey that you're taking us through, which I've mentioned, that narrative, that journey is really important. And there's this consistent theme. So we know that it's your pitch that we're listening to throughout. Some more tools and tips to come on that shortly. The next thing to consider is making sure your slides are really visual. I've tried to reiterate this a lot in this course, and hopefully with the examples that I've given, you can see that you can get a decent amount of information on the page without going into loads of detail in terms of text. So you don't need to have sentences and paragraphs and lots of words to be able to have an impactful pitch. Actually, the more visual it is, the easier it is to understand and the more compelling it is to look at as well. So really thinking about stripping back the content. What you might have so far, having built out the building blocks of your pitch, are the key messages that you want to get across in each of those sections. Now it's time to start thinking, how can you visually present those key messages? Have a look back at the examples that I've given and really think about how you can bring that to life in a really visual way. The next thing to think about, and these two go hand in hand, is making sure your pitch is really clear and really simple. Now, the clarity piece comes a lot into the language of your pitch. So this is partly to do with the content, but really thinking about removing any jargon, any words or phrases that are specific to the industry that your business operates in that not everyone might understand. I've picked out some jargon in terms of the startup world, MVP, CTA, traction, all these things that we often hear about, but explaining what they are. Keep your language really clear and keep the slides really clear as well. Don't overpack it out too much. We don't want too much to be going on the slides, especially if you're developing a pitch that you're presenting to. Don't forget that we're going to be trying to listen to what you're saying, and what we want on the screen is to complement what you're saying. We don't want to have loads of text to read and then we miss what you're saying as well. There's too much going on. So keep it really clear, and linked to that is keeping it really simple. If you think something's probably got too much detail on, it probably means it has. But the beauty of what you've got is within a network, within friends, family, colleagues that you can pull on, try to get other people's opinions. Try to get other people to give you some feedback that's really constructive, especially if they're not in your industry. It really helps to know, have I got this message right? So that when I present this to someone that's not got this background or doesn't know too much about what I'm doing, they still get it straight away. It's a really nice activity to do once you've got this first draft pitch deck up and running. Okay, so that's a starter for your capturing attention section. These 5 key things to really test your pitch on. Is it professional? Has it got a consistent brand? Is it visual? Is it clear? Is it simple? Now we can start to venture into some tips around the design of your deck and actually building it out as well. Now, there's lots of different tools that you can use. You will have your favorites and your preferences. And I'd really reiterate to be really confident with the software that you use. But the main thing in terms of your slides and what you might use to build them, here are just some examples. You've got the classic PowerPoint presentation slide. You've got places like Canva, which often start with templates that you can use from as well. A lot of them for free, which is really great to look at. You've got other ones like Slidebeam, Beautiful AI, especially for more creative projects. Not all of these are going to be relevant. Depends on the industry you're in, what you're trying to get across with your pitch. And as I say, the simpler, the better. And just make sure you're confident with that software. You might not want to relearn a whole new software to build your pitch. Going with what you know is often the best rule of thumb, especially for your first pitch deck. But maybe think about exploring some of these templates, especially the ones that offer you templates for free, to play around and see if there's other angles that you could take with the look of your pitch. Now, beyond the slide, you've then got different designs that you can think about. So if you want to look at different images, you might want to look at different icons or illustrations to help bring a lot of your points to life as well. So thinking about places that you can go to help with that. Canva, I've mentioned that. It's a sort of software that you can use for template PowerPoint presentations, but also some designs and images as well. Places like Undraw, Flaticon, all have different options that might be useful to help bring your designs to life. There are lots of options, and probably actually the software you use to build your pitch deck and to build your presentation will often have their own design options as well. PowerPoint, for example, has the design element where you can get different ideas of how to sort of convey the message that you're putting in there. And you can set your color themes and your branded sort of colors at the same time. So hopefully that's given you a bit of an idea of where to get started. Keep it simple, be confident with the software that you use, really use those 5 points to check that it's as impactful and powerful as possible, and you're not going over the top in terms of content, you're keeping it really simple. That's the main things to think about as you capture attention. And look at the actions at the end of this section, just to start to now get a little bit of visual, get a little bit of branding, get a bit of aesthetics behind your pitch, and that's where it really comes to life. You've done the hard work on the content. Now it's about putting it into practice and creating this deck that's hopefully going to be really impactful and engaging, but quite exciting to build out as well. That's the penultimate section of this course. We have one more section to go. Be sure to join me for that, and I look forward to seeing you there.